Is made of mush. I really don't know how many times I need to say this before the mainstream media starts to cover it, but it was a good thing that Donald Trump was at the hospital today for at least health purposes, but it was a pretty bad thing for his administration considering what he did after leaving the hospital. The post he made only confirms to us that he is in clear cognitive decline. We are going to get into it all and how it is blowing up Trump's administration. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the insane post that Donald Trump made after his hospital scandal blew up everything, I want to start with some shock coverage from CNN about Donald Trump's visit to the hospital and his many medical ailments. You're going to want to check this out, and surprisingly, Jake Tapper is the one who brought it up.
You remember, Jake, it was November of 2019 where he had that surprise visit to Walter Reed. It was not announced. I think it was even on a weekend where all of a sudden he went to Walter Reed, and then again in June. So if you look at the cadence of that, there have been times when it's more than annual. So in that sense, not that surprising. But again, you know, I worked at the White House. I seen that White House medical facility. It's pretty good. If you're going to Walter Reed, it's usually for more extensive testing.
So this obviously comes in the context of those photographs that we've seen of his bruised hands, swollen ankles. We've talked about this before, but how concerning are those images?
Yeah. Well, you know, the way that I would sort of look at it is that I think they're concerning, which is why questions have been asked, investigations have been performed, and the White House medical team has commented on it. So if you look at the hands, for example, first of all, they say that, look, he's on blood thinners, he shakes a lot of hands. If you look closely at that, it's more bruising on the right than the left, the shaking hand, you know, the hand that you shake hands with. So that kind of fits. A lifetime of sun damage. The skin on the back of the hand is quite thin, so it's a little bit more susceptible to bruising like this. So my point being that it fits. The explanation sort of fits, it tracks. With regard to the ankles, the swollen ankles, I think were pretty clear. And again, that can be of concern. But you know, the blood is not flowing through there as well. It's pooling or accumulating in the ankles, and they say that is something known as chronic venous insufficiency. The veins just aren't pumping the blood as well back to the rest of the body. They're not moving the blood as well. Again, that tracks. About 1 in 20 people have this, and it gets more common as you get older. So yeah, to just look at it, concerning, investigate, and those explanations do make sense, Jake.
What do we know about President Trump's health? Because in January, he became the oldest president ever inaugurated in the history of this country. He's now 79.
Yeah. Yeah, and to give context, the lifespan for a man in this country is just under 76 years old. So, you know, I mean, both these last two presidents have been far older than average life expectancy. What we're likely to hear is what we heard back in April. We're going to hear his height and his weight, 224 pounds. His blood pressure was normal. They've talked a lot about this dementia screening test known as the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. I think he's taken it a few times now, and his doctors and him say that he's gotten a perfect score. The skin I just mentioned. He is on medications, including a couple of different cholesterol-lowering medications. His cholesterol numbers back in April, they look good, and certainly those medications are helping with that. And he's on aspirin, this blood thinner, which may be contributing to that bruising.
I just had to start with that clip because this has kind of been the defining news story of the day, even if it's not the most public-facing conversation. I think it's the most important thing underlying our conversations around Donald Trump. And for CNN to be doing a timeline of Donald Trump's checkups and how this one is kind of out of the ordinary, for Jake Tapper to finally stop selling his book and talking about Joe Biden and addressing maybe the fascist who's losing his fucking mind in office. What a shock. And it was also shocking that Donald Trump, on his way to the hospital, didn't want to scream at reporters. And maybe that's because, as we see here, Trump walking away, not too happy, not really wanting to engage, knows what we're talking about. There he is, not wanting to talk. He knows that we see him as weak. He knows that we understand how ineffective he is. Again, I was surprised to see CNN air that segment, but of course they should be airing that segment. Donald Trump is in cognitive decline. He has built an administration of yes men that serve him and also prey upon his mental breakdown. But Donald Trump is constantly in his feelings. He's angrier than ever. He's lashing out more than we could have expected, and it's why he made a shock announcement in a post today that is blowing up in his face, and I want to take a look at it here. Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social, "It has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception, and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. Based on that fact, China has taken this unprecedented position, and speaking only for the USA and not other nations who will similarly threaten, starting November 1st, 2025, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a 100% tariff on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying." Governor Gavin Newsom hit back at this insane post, writing, "The government is shut down and the stock market is crashing while our president plays games with our economy. Great work, Donald Trump," referencing an article in the New York Times headline, "Stocks fall sharply on Trump's renewed threat of China tariffs." Can we just talk about how stupid that post from Trump is? The way that China is dealing with trade is immoral. The way that they are making free trade so much more difficult. The money that they will be costing consumers in other countries, it's absurd. So tariffs, the tariffs I've been talking about for a year and a half now. So more of those. Does that not compute? Obviously it doesn't compute. Nothing computes with this guy. Are we serious? Are we serious right now? Is he this stupid? Well, I'll answer that question. Yes, he is actually, in fact, that stupid. That is how stupid Donald Trump is. Maybe he should have stayed at Walter Reed instead of going on and crashing the economy. I don't know if they gave him another cognitive test and he was able to point out what an elephant is. And so he said, "Hey guys, I don't know if you just saw, but this guy right here, I know what an elephant is. Maybe I should start making huge and impactful decisions about the American economy to ultimately tank it." Why do we let him have a phone? Why do we let him have a phone? Can't someone take that away? I know Stephen Miller's really running things. Why can't we let him have a phone? Just take it away. I will also point out about the cognitive test. Trump references this a lot. I don't feel like anyone makes this point. It is a sad thing, fundamentally, when you have to take a cognitive test, when things have gotten that bad and you got to take a cognitive test, you're not in tip-top shape. They're not giving Rhodes Scholars cognitive tests. I know Donald Trump talks about IQ so much. I think that's what he must think it is, right? That's the only possible answer here. I guess it's not the only answer. The other answer is that he's just so fucking dumb. But he talks about IQ so much. I think he must believe that the elephant test and the man, woman, person, camera, TV test is IQ. And so when the doctors say he passed, meaning he's not incapacitated, he must think he's got a really high IQ. Oh, isn't that just sad? I have no sympathy for Donald Trump, but isn't that just, he's so embarrassing. Ugh. I just hate that this guy represents us. But he doesn't really. He represents his own idiocy. That is always astounding. And I know I'm surprised by it, but someone who really detailed how surprising it is in kind of the perfect way, someone who I try to be like every single day on this show because he does such a commendable job, was Lawrence O'Donnell in this clip right here.
Well, the possibility of a relentlessly stupid person becoming president of the United States has been underexplored by screenwriters. And then Donald Trump came along and went far beyond what Hollywood could ever imagine in the presidency. Prior to Donald Trump, the challenge for screenwriters and fiction writers would have been, first of all, how could a profoundly stupid person be elected president of the United States? And then, how could a profoundly stupid person get through a day on the job as president? The fictional president, played brilliantly by Martin Sheen on NBC's Emmy-winning series The West Wing, was a wise and carefully thoughtful president for whom I wrote several episode scripts over 7 years of that series, and if I were writing the character of a stupid president in a script, I would simply have had the stupid president completely rely on a smart White House staff and a smart cabinet and just hide behind those people. And absolutely, and I mean absolutely, never talk to the press, because a stupid president's stupidity would be immediately exposed by the White House press corps. And on that point, I would have been very wrong, because it turns out the stupidest presidency in American history has the stupidest White House press corps in American history, as far as we can tell. And the press corps have become accessories, as they proved again today. No one could have imagined that if we get the stupidest president in history, we would also get the stupidest White House press corps collectively. The public knows much better than the White House press corps that Donald Trump is lying about who pays the tariffs. On this, the American public, much, much smarter than your average White House reporter. A new poll shows 81% of Americans are very concerned or somewhat concerned about the impact of tariffs on their personal finances. And I have absolutely no doubt that 81% of the White House press corps do not know how tariffs work. And not one of those 81% of the public who do know, who are completely correct in their concern, have had any Trump at all, any help at all in comprehending the Trump tariffs from the White House press corps. What would happen? What would happen if Donald Trump turned on a White House press reporter and said, "Why don't you tell me about tariffs?"
Donald Trump is truly a historic, unfathomable amount of stupid. It is an amount of stupid unrivaled in the history of stupidity. It makes the stupid people of America proud to know that Donald Trump is representing them, and it makes all of us feel awful. And that's really the only way to put it. And on that note of joy, I don't know what else to say. He's a moron, and he's crashing the economy. We're going to continue to call it out on this show every single day. If you want to support that, because it's pretty depressing at this point, my God. As always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to see me humiliate some MAGA idiots, you can take a look right there. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.